Hey guys, Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. It's that time again. We have a big patch this time, patch 6.0, and I'm here with probably part 1 of the patch notes breakdown because I've noticed we haven't had the new champions come into the game as of yet. I'd imagine they're going to drop them on Friday along with Mighty Uko's Fusion start. But there's a lot of content here, so to be honest, splitting it into 2 parts is probably a good idea. So that is what I'm going to do. I've got a lot of math to basically go through with you in terms of the odds from soul stones, the different rates and the best places to farm dungeons, some details around the new Iron Twins fortress, and we've also got all the data around blessings that you really need to know about in order to choose which blessing is best for you. So without further ado, let's get started. So with the first part, I always look at the official patch notes so we can see what Plarium are informing us about, and then the second part I kind of do a deep dive into the data, going into the sort of data mining to try and get a better understanding and to cover things that they probably didn't tell you about. They've been pretty good lately about being very clear in their patch notes around changes to the game, but I would imagine there's some things in this patch that are going to sneak through. So let's take a look. We have got, of course, Awakening has now entered the game. There's lots of content going to be coming around the Awakening system, around the Iron Twins Fortress. We have a guide on the website now around Iron Twins Fortress about how you approach it, some ideas and strategies. It will evolve. There may be some things in there you think are a little bit overly specific. We're obviously only on day 1 of playtesting. I know some of the content creators have had the test server, and obviously Hell Hades has put his input in as well. It looks like Affinity at the moment is having less of an impact than we feared, and of course I think there's some cheese strategies with Paragon going around, but we'll see how it happens. So of course we've got that. It opens at level 42. We get some freebies on the Awakening, like I think about 1,000 silver coins and about 5 tier 1 and 1 tier 2. They have already started selling soul stones. I'm not impressed. Not even beyond the first 24 hours. But, you know, I suppose it was to be expected. We've got the Iron Twins Fortress. There are 15 stages. With that, you need to climb each affinity separately. I mentioned this in my preview video for the Iron Twins. So you'll have to climb Force, Magic, Spirit, and Void separately. You can buy keys, but it's 150 gems. So it's a lot of spend. So I'm buying them just to unlock the higher stages because I want to just be able to do the top one. I probably won't buy anything other than Void, and I'll explain why later in the video. But you'll get 6 keys. If you lose, you keep the key, but if you do, you lose the energy. So keep that in mind. You don't want to be failing over and over again. I managed to climb 12 today with just a basic team using Ninja as my DPS and just using lots of turn meter. So I think the first sort of 1 to 10 stages is going to be relatively straightforward, but from stage 10 onwards it starts getting a little bit more trickier, a little bit difficult. Then we've got Awakening, and that system is in the game. I've already done a video on Awakening. If you check above the card, if you want to go check it out, the basics of Awakening, what you need to do, how you use it. I will have some more tips today in terms of how to maximize your awakenings and your souls, and you're managing those, all the new currencies. But generally, I think there's no harm in you summoning your soul stones that you've got for free today. Soul stones is kind of like the end path of the currencies. You can't really do anything else other than summon with soul stones. And unless we suddenly get like boosted events, which I mean they could do, I don't know, someone asked the question, but I think at the moment let's just have some fun with the new system. Then we got blessings. I'm going to go through these in the unofficial patch notes. Generally the rares are quite poor, the legendary blessings are very strong, as you'd imagine. We got awakening items. These are all the currencies. Again, I'm not going to cover this here. I've covered it in my Awakenings 101 video. Go check out that video if you want to learn more about the best way to manage your resources and how all the currency works. And then we've got have fun. Cool. Okay, so what else we got here? We've got new champion skins. Let's take a look at those. So we got Syl of the Drakes, and she's a barbarian. Let's just jump in here. Where is she? Syl of the Drakes champion skin. So we got a Lavaborn. Wow, look at the axe. They do a good job with their artwork. You can't knock them. That looks phenomenal. We've got like dragon wings. Does she normally have dragon wings? Oh yeah, she does, but the new one looks way better. Look at that. She looks awesome, especially with like a flaming eyes. And then of course, we've got the Azure. Oh, what happened to the backdrop? I thought we were going to get the Yakal backdrop. But I mean, come on, look at that axe. The glowy bit kind of ends off the edge there, but wow, phenomenal looking skins. They do a great job with the skins, and they should probably do more of them and continue it. I would like to see them more accessible, maybe replace the one in the clan shop with a new one and a couple of other things, maybe make them earnable from different places. I don't mind that they sell them. If you want to buy them, you can. If not, it's up to you. But there you go. You got Scylla the Drake skins are now in the game. And it says will be available in-game in the near future. So it's the usual events, tournaments, and special offers. We'll probably have the epic one as a tournament reward chase where you have to win the tournament and then the legendary will be sold. Probably that's been the trend. Then we get some champion rebalances. I, to be honest, haven't really looked at these too much because the champion changes are not that crazy for me. The biggest problem with marksman is this extra turn. They need to remove the chance for extra turn because in clan boss teams, you can't afford normally to have this. It's too inconsistent. Just get rid of it. You get rid of that, he's actually a very good clan boss champion with lots of poisons, lots of different effects. This hits really hard if you can actually get it. And I've actually entertained using him at different points. But to be honest, with this extra turn, you can't use him in clan boss. And that's kind of where I'd like to use him. So marksman is a bit of a fail if they don't get rid of that. Otherwise, he's a good champion. In other places, he probably is a decent champion as well. We got Canoness. What do we got here? What have they changed? On a single target. And then it's just an AoE continuous heal. All right, well, it's average. Drake. They've just boosted him up to 50%. And then they've got 50% decrease accuracy on all enemies for 2 turns. If this attack is critical. I mean, okay. Decrease accuracy is quite good, mine. But I think there's better options than a 4-turn cooldown. What do we got? Death Ascended. Just an aura by the looks of it. Okay. Delver, we got places awaken if they're under decreased defense. Better. Rather than heal reduction, because heal reduction is quite a low value. If it's ascended, it can't be resisted, which it couldn't before. So that's pretty good. I mean, would you use it though? It's a bit of a question mark. It's not on my list of top damage dealers, put it like that. Also places a decreased defense on the target. So she is a good decreased defense and weakened target now. So that's an improvement. Probably the best change I've seen so far. Karam, we've got increased the chance of placing a poison from 30 to 50. K, so more chance of placing poisons. Is now based only on attack rather than attack and HP. Fine. Probably not that crazy. I actually did notice they changed the multiplier. I did have a look. And then, of course, we've got some miscellaneous. We got a renaming of a material. Obviously, soul stones now for summoning, so we can't have a forged material called soul stones. This is to craft the resilient set. This will now be called will stones. It's a text change. You probably won't even notice it. Champions that Astronics to Dark Fae banishes will now become invisible. Okay. Fine. Stun debuff animation. These are all bug fixes by the looks of it. Iragoth to sacrifice if the minion was under petrification. Fine, they've added an exclusion for that. Champions in the Stone Skin artifact sets replace provoke and HP burn debuffs no longer make enemy champions under these debuffs skip their turn. That sounds like a pretty big bug fix. Oh, we've attempted to fix Helicath again. This didn't work last time. Maybe it does now. We'll have to see. Fixed a bug that causes Shemnath to not be revived, and then fixed a bug that results in players not getting Demon Lord chests. Okay, so the big thing obviously is Awakening and Blessings in this patch. No new champions yet. That'll come probably on Friday. I'll do another video on that. Let's dive into why you all hear the actual real patch notes. So as always, when I get to the unofficial patch notes, I do put a disclaimer here. This is data mined information that has not officially been released by Plarium, but it is data from the live game. Static information, multipliers, all these things are in the game. They're accurate. We've tested them. So they can be taken with a high degree of accuracy, but just not officially released by Plarium. So I always put that disclaimer in. So let's get started. I did have this noted because I wasn't sure if it would make its way into the patch notes, but obviously we've covered it. Resilience set materials is now Willstone. The first major thing is obviously the Iron Twins. All the stage information is now available in the Raid Stages tool on the website. That is from stage 1 to 15 for all affinities, including the rewards odds. Let's just take a look at that quickly so you can see a big point that I want to make about the rewards odds. So as always, you can come down to this section. Let me just zoom this in. As always, you can come to this section, pick dungeons, and then you should now have options for all of the affinities. And if we pick magic, we'll be able to pick stage 15. Boom. And there you go. So you can see the accuracy and resistance is set at 600. We're at bomber level, 250 speed. Stage 15 is around about what I'd expect to be high-end stage 25, high-end Doom Tower. Big base attack and base defense. So you've got to be careful about growing too many of the affinity growths. Although it doesn't feel that impactful at the moment, I think it will be over a period of time. So that's just something to keep in mind. It is a big base attack. All the attacks have a multiplier. We'll cover that when I go back to the official patch notes. The thing I wanted to point out here, if you click on this, you'll get the rewards. There are one-time rewards, and then you have individual odds to gain these silver coins and essences. Unfortunately, you will have keys where it's just the essences and not the silver coins. In my opinion, it should have been a chance to always get a silver coin and then a bonus chance to get an essence. That's how it should have been structured. It hasn't been. So you can see these are the odds for magic. Now, the values here are 155 to 175. When we go to void, same stage, it's 310 to 350. So void is significantly better to farm than your non-affinity. So if you wanted to use 150 gems a week on this area, void is the day to do it. Is double the rewards. We'll go into more detail when I break down the full numbers, but that's the main thing I want to point out. But in terms of the different stages, the different information, it's all available on the raid stages tool. So as I mentioned, the boss has abilities. All of them are 3 times the boss's attack. And the Iron Brand nuke, that is the special ability in which he deals damage based on the number of Iron Brand stacks, is 3 times your champion's HP, plus 3 times the number of stacks. So if you get to around about 33 or 34 stacks, you will get one shot, basically. That's the way it works out. In this patch, we also have changes to the Hydra reward chests. They've added mortal soul stones. That's the first tier of soul stones. It doesn't look like they've added any tier 2 or tier 3. These will be in the chests with the following rates on screen. So we've got a 100% chance to always have at least one soul stone. So every chest will always give you at least a single soul stone. Sometimes you'll get 2, and only the top chest of Nightmare will you get a chance to get 3 in one chest. Obviously, you can double this up to get 6. If we looked at how it works for the different difficulties, the top chest of normal will be a warrior chest. That's an 80% chance for 1 mortal soul stone, or 20% chance for 2, which would be 4 or 2 if it's doubled up. The top of hard is 60 and 40% split. The top of brutal is 50 and 50. And then the nightmare is where you get a 20% chance for 1, 60% chance for 2, and a 20% chance for 3. So how does this impact all the other math? If you caught my previous video around how long it was going to take to get a tier 3 Eternal Soulstone, now we have the actual odds. I can give much more accurate information, and that's what we're going to do. So if you caught my previous video, you would have seen a screen similar to this. And we've got the daily void, the daily non-void, and then the weekly and the monthly. So obviously each stage has got some one-time rewards. I'm ignoring them for this purpose, but you will get some soul stones, some gold coins, and some silver coins all from that. Now that we know the individual odds, I no longer need to do a low and high roll. I'm looking at an average roll. And I also now have added in the essences so we can actually see, you know, how many are we going to get here on average as well. So let's take a look and look at the numbers here. So for a stage 15 average silver coin yield, a daily non-void is going to be around about 863, and a daily void is going to be around about 1,726. Now, obviously, there's some rounding and some weird stuff going on. Like you can see, obviously, when we get to essences, you don't get 1 single stack of 2 at stage 15, you get either 5. But I'm looking at the average roll rate because we know the odds are somewhere in the region of 88% to get a silver coin versus the remaining odds to get an essence. So I'm looking at the average across sort of 6 keys. How many are we getting? And these are the numbers. So you can see that void is like nearly double, if not more than double, the benefit of a daily non-void. So if you want to use your 150 refills, do it on a Sunday, is effectively half the price for double the amount of reward. So that means monthly we're going to get around about 27,626 silver coins. When we look at essences, we're looking at around about 5 on the void, 2. Obviously, if you roll it, you will get more, as I've just said, but it'll be around about 129 essences a month, or 54 of the tier 2s. Now, obviously, the tier 2s are used for 5 to 6 star in the soul market. For now, you're probably going to be getting mostly tier 1s because it's going to give you what you need more than it's going to give you what you don't have. So it probably won't give you more than 1 star until you get the 1 star. Then you'll get the split souls and so forth and so on. Now let's have a look at Hydra. Hydra actually, in my first assessment, I thought it was going to be quite poor, but it's actually quite a big significant change. If you were to just do the normal and hard top chests and get the kill for both, so you get 2 chests for each difficulty, so 4 chests in total, you can look at around about 20,800 coins a month. And then if you do normal, hard, and brutal, that goes up to 32,800. And if you do hard, brutal, and nightmare, that's around about 39,200. So you get more coins from doing Hydra effectively than doing the Iron Twins. The way I've converted this is I've basically gone and looked at the averages in terms of getting each soul stone, and then I've converted the soul stone back into silver coins, which is 1,000 per soul stone. So I can basically work out a rough silver cost here, and then that's used further down in a second. So what does this mean in terms of timescales? Obviously, we know it's 1,000 for each tier. It means now you're looking at around about 0.86 soul stones a day from non-void and about 1.73 from void. This is only using 6 keys. This isn't using 12 keys, so you would double this up if you wanted to use your 150 gems, which is around about 27 tier 1 soul stones in a month. Now, if you were doing Hydra, normal and hard will get you 48, normal, hard, brutal 60, and then for the normal, brutal, and nightmare, you're going to get 66.83 tier 1 soul stones on average. Obviously, rounding, you can't get half a soul stone, but just to give you the averages. So in terms of an updated timescale, how long does it take to get to a tier 3 soul stone? That's the question. How many tier 2s and tier 1s do I need to get? How long will it take me to get that one tier 3, that one eternal soul stone? We started, when I first did this video, at 6 years. We're now down to 2.08 years, assuming you do the hardest difficulties of Hydra and you kill the bosses regularly, and you do 6 keys a day for the rest of your life. 2 years. It's still not good enough. Now, another factor to take into account here, you can obviously sell your souls for gold coins. It's very difficult to calculate that because the odds and different things to know how many that's going to be. I don't think it's going to take you 2 years in total. You can probably shave off half a year in just selling gold coins. But we're still at like 40 plus months just to get one tier 3. It was not like we're saying, oh, you get like 50. We're talking a singular tier 3 eternal soul stone. Even if you are very optimal with selling things, even if you buy every single key and refresh, you're looking at 6 months probably. Because if you buy 6 keys, you can probably get like double the amount of silver coins here. So you can probably bring this down by another year or so. It's still a very long time. That's what we're working with. But what about soul summoning odds? So we've got the odds for actually getting champions out of these eternal soul stones, immortal, whatever you want to call them. I call them tier 1, 2, and 3. It's just easier for me to understand. You're basically looking at a return of about 66% from a tier 1 for a rare, about 46% from a tier 2 for a rare, and obviously tier 3s can only drop epics. It's an 80-20 split on the tier 3. And then you've got a 6% chance that doubles up to a 12% chance from tier 1 to tier 2. This is then multiplied by the rarities. So there's a 1% chance on tier 1 that it's a 6-star, and then a 6% chance that it's legendary. And then these scale up. Again, on a tier 3, it's 20-80, so you get a 20% chance that it's a 6-star and a 20% chance it's legendary. What does this actually mean in terms of your odds? If you want a 6-star, perfect soul, legendary, you're looking at a 0.03% chance from a tier 1. And even on a tier 3, it's a 4% chance. To the extent that the majority, if we look at this here, and I just do some quick hovering math, if we were to summon a 1-star, a tier 1 soul stone, 98% odds that it will be a 1 to 4-star. It's 2% or less that it's a 5 or 6-star of any rarity. If you want a specific 6-star legendary champion. So we're saying if you wanted, for example, a 6-star warlord, perfect soulstone, you're looking at, from a tier 1 chest, a 0.000048% chance. I don't even know if I've done enough zeros there, which increases to a tier 3 of a 0.009615% chance. These odds are very low. If you manage to get a 6-star Yumiko or a 6-star warlord or a 6-star Trunda that I've heard some people get, you got to be thanking your graces, because these odds are extremely rare to get. They are worse than summoning. It may sound like it when you hear, oh, well, it's a 6% chance to get a legendary. but then it's got to roll the 6-star, and then it's got to roll beyond all the rest. It's a very low chance. So in terms of actually selling the souls, in terms of are they valuable or not, the good news is you get a really good return rate if you get a champion you don't want. So if you do get lucky and you do get a 6-star legendary perfect soul, and it's for a champion that either you don't have yet or you actually never want to use. For example, say like you get one for, I think of a terrible champion here, like Jingwong. It's not as bad as it used to be, but say like you got one for Jingwong. You can sell this for 1,000 tier 3 coins and basically buy yourself an Eternal Soul Stone and re-roll it. Now that Eternal Soul Stone may not give you another 6-star perfect legendary, but it will give you a 5 to 6-star, and it will be an epic or legendary. So you might find you get a champion that is better. These are all the individual sell rates. I've got an Alexander that I pulled. It can give me 86 gold coins. If I'm not going to use the champion, it might serve me to do that. I would probably be advising people not to necessarily do it for the legendaries, but certainly for your rares that you don't want, and especially for some of the epics that you never plan to use. You can get a lot of gold coins here, and I think this could accelerate the pace in which you get that tier 3 Eternal Soul Stone. Although I still think it's got a lot of time to catch up. It's got a lot of time frame that it needs to basically replace in those 2 years. And finally, the last few things I wanted to cover was soul collection upgrading. This is going to cost you silver and gems exactly the same way that champion vault storage does cost. And it's quite pricey. To get just to 200, we're talking 33.7 million silver, about 1,905 gems. So it's going to be expensive to upgrade. So good soul collection management is probably advised to avoid upgrading these. And finally, we've also got the soul merchant pricing. This is going to refresh every 12 hours. You can see that if you get a 6-star legendary perfect soul, you're going to need, of the gold essence, which is the tier 2, or it could be diamond essence, I'm calling it the gold essence here, 300 of that. Now, we only got 20 of the silver tier 1, and that only got us a 1-star. And you can see that it accelerates. We're up to, almost double, over double, over double. So it will get expensive. The rares are pretty cheap to pick up. So that's at least a good thing if you're trying to get your ARS for clan boss, or you're trying to use your secret rooms, or for whatever reason. The rares are pretty good. I will release this spreadsheet with all of the math in the description of this video, so you can go and look at it yourself and use it as a reference. So now that I've covered all of the math for the rewards, the soul stones, all the different numbers that you might not have in the game right now, and we've also covered the Iron Twins, let's cover the blessings. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the blessings here. I'm only going to go through the ones that actually have some confusion or some lack a bit of clarity around them. Things like the aura blessing is pretty self-explanatory. Whatever your aura is, you multiply it by the value that you get per level. Things like the CC ones where you just have a chance to remove the debuff, they're pretty self-explanatory. These blessings will probably be focused on legendaries just because they have more in them, but I just wanted to go through the ones that did like damage and different things and different effects. So the first thing we got up here is polymorph, my least favorite of all of them because I think it's a bit too much of a meme. Polymorph works in a similar way to when you decapitate a Hydra head. Your champion, when sheeped, when polymorphed, becomes a variant of itself, but it has completely different skill sets and stats. Effectively, the stats completely change. What your champion had before doesn't matter anymore. They get 50,000 HP, 1,500 defense, and 150 speed. Whilst you're polymorphed, you cannot die. So it's not always a good thing that you polymorph someone, because if they're polymorphed, they're invincible until they come out of polymorph. When they come out of polymorph, they're 50% HP. Now, they can't do anything whilst polymorphed other than attack. And then when they attack and all the other sheep attack, there's like a 50% chance that those sheep will become unsheeped and return back to their former self. But just keep that in mind. You don't actually kill them in sheep form. And whilst they're in sheep form, you can't really kill them at all. So that is the situation. But that's what happens with polymorph. You become a variant. Your stats change. You can see here it's 50,000 HP, 1,500 defense. And then once you attack with sheep or the duration expires, you come back out and you're at 50% HP. Do I think this blessing is very good? I actually put it quite low on my kind of tier list, but yeah, that's how it works. Next up is lightning cage. The confusing thing for me was the term activates. I didn't really explain what it meant by when it activates. But when I've looked at the code, orbs are activated when a buff is removed, stolen, or transferred. So you start the fight, if you're 6 out of 6 awakened, you have 3 orbs. If someone tries to do one of those effects with one of your buffs, it will activate. And then it, of course, has a chance to protect those buffs, and it deals damage. Now, I haven't got the descriptions of all the skills here. We're going to have a website page with them all up, so I'll probably put a link to that in the description below so you can use it whilst you're watching this. But in terms of how the damage works, it is bonus damage, but it is fixed damage, so it can't be reduced, it can't be increased, and it does not ignore defense. The multiplier for this is for 1 to 5 star, you're doing 1% damage to a boss, which is increased to 2.5% for champions. And then if you're at 6 star blessed, 6 star awakened, it'll be 2.5% of the target's max HP for bosses and 5% of the champion. And I think it doesn't do this for each orb. I think it just does it once. So that's something to keep in mind. Is it a decent thing? It could be. I haven't really had any sort of play testing with it. We've only just got awakenings. But I just want to give you the detail. Orbs are activated when removed, stolen, or transferred. Otherwise, they do nothing. They just sit there. They don't have an impact. The big one here for me is Ward of the Fallen. This is probably going to be the MVP candidate for your damage dealer on arena defense in a go second scenario, or in arena offense on a go second scenario. We have a multiplicative damage reduction of up to 30%. This is on top of all the multiplicative damage effects you have. So if you've got strength and it's 1.25 times this 1.3. Bone armor has a chance to deal damage, but you can only deal that damage if at least one of your allies has died. And then that damage is multiplied based on the quantity of champions on your team that have died. So it's pretty good if you can keep one champion alive. Imagine like an ultimate death knight, for a better word. And then you just go back and you just one-shot everything. That's kind of the concept here, but it's also very good just for straight raw damage reduction. Now, if you did want the bonus damage, it doesn't crit and it doesn't ignore defense. And it can only be applied at the start of battle or if you deal damage with bone armor. So you can't get it back any other way. So if you don't deal damage and you let it expire, you lose the bone armor. The multiplier for this is 3 times attack times the number of dead allies. But again, you cannot crit with this, so the damage is not going to be crazy, but it might be a nice little bit to finish off. The benefit of this blessing, minus 30% damage reduction going into a battle. Next, we got Lethal Dose. Lethal Dose is a 50% at 6 out of 6 to increase the damage of poison effects in arena. Now, it does only specifically state it increases the poison debuff. I'm not sure what the impact will be for poison explosion. I wasn't able to get any information or any data on that, but it could potentially be interesting with Azavia, but I'm not 100% certain it will be. I got a feeling it will only increase the poison effects. Maybe it will just make all the poison 7.5% rather than multiplying the final result in damage by 50%, which is what I would prefer. But it will boost her damage a little bit, and keep in mind Zarvia does have a block revive, so it could potentially be interesting with the Calvalax setup. Next, we got Phantom Touch. I was unsure with this one on the initial description, would it work on a single target? And I can confirm it does work on a single target. So if you're fighting a boss, Phantom Touch will work. The multiplier for this is 5 times attack. Again, it cannot crit like other of these bonus damages, but it is quite a high multiplier at 5 times attack, and it will ignore 30% of the target's defense. So it is a rare blessing, so that's somewhat of a good thing because there aren't that many good rare blessings, so potentially it could be an option for someone like your Heiress in a clan boss. This is going to be the most controversial and the most frustrating blessing for everyone to face. This one is going to be the number one for your damage dealer in arena by far. The way that Soul Reap works, if your champion is 6-star awakened, any champion that you take or attack below 20% HP will be executed. It does fixed damage, it ignores 100% of the defense, it will ignore any damage reduction masteries or buffs. The only thing that can stop the Soul Reap killing your champion is unkillable or block damage. And if that happens, you'll get a True Fear. Now, I don't know whether you need accuracy to land the True Fear. You certainly don't need accuracy to land the other debuffing type of blessing, which is Smite. That doesn't require any accuracy, but in this instance it basically means if you're running an arena nuker and you get them to below 20% and they don't die, either they're going to get a fear or they're going to be killed with Soul Reap, because it will do 1 times the target's current health at the time of proccing. So if you've got 5% HP left, you're going to lose 5% of your HP from the Reaper. If you're at 20%, you're going to take 20% of your HP from the Reaper. It scales based on what you have left. If you don't run Soul Reap as your damage dealer in arena, I think as a go first, if you're not worried about surviving, this is the one to pick for your arena nuker. It's going to create a big division between your Magnars, your Gembos, versus your actual legendary damage dealers, because it might give them the extra boost. You can imagine it's effectively 20% more damage to any legendary champion because of the way that it scales. It's probably more than that when you think of high HP. It's very powerful. Soul Reap is the #1 arena offense blessing in my opinion. And next we come to Brimstone, the other extremely powerful legendary blessing. Brimstone is the best blessing for PvE against high boss HP targets. There are some other good blessings, the ones that decrease the defense come to mind, the one that allow you to ignore defense, and I think there's some that allows you to increase damage against bosses, but Brimstone is monstrous. It will allow you to place a smite debuff. It has got a 4-turn cooldown, but you don't really notice it. Basically, at 6 out of 6 awakening status, you have a 100% chance to place this. Once you place it, the cooldown starts. So as long as you take 4 turns between the next time you need to place this, you'll always have the smite up. Now, obviously, the smite is up for 2 turns. So therefore, you've already got a 2-turn built-in cooldown that you don't need. So effectively, you only need to take an extra 2 turns on top of the debuff to be able to keep this up 100% of the time. The smite debuff itself cannot be blocked, it cannot be removed, it cannot be resisted, and it cannot be reduced. It's a protected debuff. Once it's on the target, it stays on the target. Hydra can't cleanse it off. Anything, it stays there. The way that it activates is a boss needs to use an active ability. This isn't the basic A1, this is the A2 or the A3. If it's a clan boss, it means that it won't do it on the stun turn, but it will do it on the other AoEs. If it is a Hydra boss, it can't do it on the A1 of the Hydra boss. But when they do use that A2 or A3, it does insane damage. So that normally will do 25% of the champion's max HP, but they have created new passives for all of the bosses that basically adjust this number down. Either the number is hard capped. In the case of clan boss, it's hard capped at 250,000 damage. In the case of Hydra, notice it's capped at 100,000 per Hydra head. It also does splash damage in Hydra to 4 allies. So it'll do around about another 20 to 40,000 depending on the defense numbers of the other champions around. For normal dungeon bosses, there's a special effect where it'll basically reduce the actual max HP hit by 70%. So that basically means the spider has around about 7.7 million HP at stage 25. You take 25% of that and then you reduce it by another sort of 70%. You take the 70% quantity, you minus that off, and you're left with around about 464,000 damage. Now remember, it stays on as a 2-turn debuff. Anytime they use a active ability, it procs this ability. So roughly, if you work it out on pure math, there's about 50 clan boss turns. He does 66% of his turns are active abilities. His A2 is A3. So that means he's probably going to take around about 33 turns with smite debuff up. That equates to around about 8.3 million damage in your clan boss run over 50 turns. You want to be able to kind of go 2-1 if you can, so you can keep that smite debuff going. The 4-turn cooldown does need to be taken into account, but generally from the tests I've seen, it stays up all the time at 6-star awakened. I got my ninja 1-star. The first thing I put on him was Brimstone. In Iron Twins, it did about 200,000 at stage 12. It's a powerful blessing. It will help you clear bosses very quickly. 100% recommend this as your #1 priority on a single champion in a team. You don't want multiple Brimstones because effectively you can sustain it with one champion and then it's just a waste on another champion. Ideally, you'd want it on one champion. You can't have more than one smite debuff out in one go, so keep that in mind. You can't have it on 2 different targets. One champion, one Brimstone, that should be a goal. So there you have it, guys. That is the end of the patch notes video, but for the time being, let me know in the comments below what you think about the update, the blessings. Has any of this information impacted you, the way you use blessings, the way you're going to approach the game? And I will catch you in the next video.